Hey everybody, I'm Amanda with DevExpress and welcome to What's New for VCL version 16.1 presented by DevExpress CTO Julian Bucknall. In this session, Julian will show off the new controls and features in 16.1, the new PDF viewer, the Callout Popup Control, the Windows Explorer grid view, and more. FYI, this session is being recorded and it will be made available on our DevExpress YouTube channel later today. We will also do a live Q&A at the end of this presentation. Just type your questions in the GoToWebinar control panel at any time throughout the broadcast. All right, thank you so much for joining us. I will now hand things over to Julian. Good morning, Julian.
Good morning, Amanda, and good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me on this webinar about VCL 16.1. I'm not going to do much of an intro here. We're just going to go straight into the new features. I will actually point out to you that we released this morning. So if you're feeling like you want to download the install while you're listening to me, do go ahead. Just go to your download center and version 16.1 should be available. Now, the new features in VCL for this particular release include a new PDF viewer control. This is in Community Technical Preview, or CTP. It's a grand name for a beta. We're essentially saying, hey, there's this new control here. Take a look at it, play around with it. It's not fully finished yet. All the features have not been added, so beware about that. But it's there. This is a direction that we wanted to go in, and we'll be seeing more of that in a moment. There's a new Callout Popup Control. The Callout Popup Control is like those context pop-ups you get, but with more functionality, so we'll see that in a minute. A range track bar editor for allowing your users to define a range of values rather than just a single value on a track bar. The grid has a new Windows Explorer view. Of course, we'll be looking at that in a moment. You'll see what I mean by Windows Explorer view. Spreadsheet, lots of changes here, all the way up to the finish line. We've been adding autofill for cells, special paste features, passwords, allowing your users to move cells with drag and drop. There's also import and export of clipboard data into Excel. The rich edit, you can now edit HTML files. You can open an HTML file, edit it, and save it as HTML. Kind of fun. Table of contents, protected documentation and range permissions and things like that. Pivot Grid has some OLAP enhancements. That's not something I'm going to be demonstrating in particular. So what we really mean by this is that the Pivot Grid now offers access to OLAP data using ADO. So that's shipped with the Microsoft Data Access Components, MDAC. And you can now access OLAP cubes stored in Microsoft SQL Server Analysis Services 2012 and 14. Scheduler, I've got a confession to make here. I couldn't get my virtual machine to work, so I can't actually show you this particular item because my RAD Studio is on the virtual machine, and I was having problems all day yesterday. In essence, the scheduler control allows you to create the design time UI from the designer, so you don't have to, specify your ribbon and specify your other UI for the scheduler. Will generate it all for you from a right-click menu option, basically. I'm sorry I can't show it to you, but I've been having hardware issues. What the? Layout, we can scroll group content, and data editors will be seeing a couple of those things coming up. The Next thing is, I call it a gentle reminder. Strictly speaking, DevExpress VCL version 16.1 is for RAD Studio 2010 or later only. Like in previous releases, the rich edit gets a little complicated. So my recommendation is for you to use RAD Studio XE or XE all the way up to XE8, or the new RAD Studio 10. I'd have to say Berlin is the best one yet. So I would recommend that you upgrade to as late a version of RAD Studio as you can. I'm not going to guarantee that RAD Studio 2010 is going to be supported in 16.2, so beware. It takes a lot to test a release when you're supporting a lot of IDEs, and we currently support 10. And it gets a bit complicated when you have two compilers, Delphi and C++ Builder, and it's time for us to basically start dropping off older compilers. So I do warn you, I do recommend that you upgrade your RAD Studio to the latest one you can. And of course, that was the gentle reminder. And here's the not quite so gentle reminder. We are not supporting FireMonkey. This is all about VCL. In fact, it's got a little more constrained over the past 6 months. Our mobile story, I have to say, is based on HTML5 JavaScript, and it's based on Xamarin. So we're talking .NET or we're talking HTML5 JavaScript. The Xamarin thing is because Microsoft, as you may or may not have heard, have bought Xamarin, and they now provide the Xamarin runtimes for free. It's actually open source for free as part of Visual Studio. That's where the majority of our customers are going. So that's our mobile story. We will not be supporting FireMonkey for mobile. So please be aware of that. It's the way we decided, or the business decision we've made. Now, without further ado, let's have some fun. So let me just kill PowerPoint. So the very first thing I'd like to show you is our new PDF viewer. Now, I've said this for the past few years, but it bears repeating. The way our VCL development team work these days is to take what the .NET team or the WinForms team have been working on, let them find out all the issues that have to be overcome in supporting a particular control, and then essentially convert it to Delphi. Now, I do hasten to add, there is a lot more to it than that, but that's the basics. And one of the messiest standards to understand that I've ever come across is the PDF standard. It's, shall we say, downright evil. But the team have come up with a PDF viewer control for VCL, and it's written entirely in Delphi. And I hasten to add again, it's currently in beta or CTP mode, so for the 16.1 release. But here it is. By default, when you open up this particular demo, it shows a PDF that we supply, so we can show off the features of the viewer. So, for example, you can see we have image support. Paging works, for example. Well, there's extra pages. And we're supporting embedded fonts. We can export to either TIFF or PNG image formats. We could even display pages side by side. Here we are. If the window is big enough, we'll display pages side by side. Now, because I'm me, I like to try other things too. So we know our default PDF works. So here's something that I had just recently. Is my boarding pass from my recent trip from Brussels to Denver via Washington. Again, we have images. I flew on United. You have the logo, we have the barcode, we have the credit card image down here. No, I'm not getting a credit card. We have color support, we have lines, we have different fonts, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, I did not prepare this particular PDF in any way at all. It's the one that United gave me, and our PDF viewer opens it without any errors. So as you see, it's a pretty complete coverage of the usual features you want from a PDF viewer control. However, emphasize again that it's still in beta. There are certain elements of PDF documents that are not supported. The biggest being at the moment is we don't have printing, and that's being worked on. So PDF viewer, well worth trying out, well worth seeing whether you can incorporate such a control into your own applications. The next new control is the Callout Popup Control. Now, as I said, this is like a context pop-up window, but with some extra features. And a simple demo is this particular one. There we go. We'll do the Win Explorer view in a moment. Let me just expand it a bit. So here we are showing a bunch of properties. Could be a realtor site or something like that. We have a card view essentially showing properties for sale. Now, if you click on a property, let's click on this particular one here, we throw up a separate window with some information about that property. This is the Callout Popup. The callout bit is this little, now I think the technical term is beak, as in a bird's beak, that points to the item to which the pop-up actually relates. So this pop-up here is pointing to this item here. And there are several positions of the beak that you can programmatically set. We're basically showing pointing left. And if I close this one and click on this particular image, and we're pointing right here. Also notice in the demo we've added a kind of delayed call-out pop-up, which is like a speech bubble, if you will, from the realtor. So, hi, my name is Albert Walker. There's a little speech bubble there. If I click on this item here, pops up. Anthony Pearson talking to you through the call-out. The big thing about the pop-up is it's a complete separate form. Here we've got essentially a tabbed page control showing Woody's page showing various interesting things about this particular property. So, Callout Popup. While we're in the grid control demo, briefly flashed it up, the Win Explorer view. Now this one kind of replicates the look and feel of Windows Explorer, but not for files and folders, but for rows in your database. So here we are, we have a set of cars. By default, it looks pretty much like a card view. Well, we've had it in the grid for quite a while now, but if you look up here, you can see we have extra ways of displaying the information inside the grid. At the moment, it's set to extra large icons, but we provided icons for other ways of displaying this data, but in a kind of Windows Explorer-like way. So we have large icons, and we have medium icons, and very, very small icons. We have a list. We can do tiles. The tiles is a little more interesting because we're not only showing the image and the caption, but also an ellipsized version of the description. In other words, where we run out, we put an ellipse. Ellipsized, is that a word? And the content view shows that best, I suppose. Each row here now has, an icon, the caption, and the description. So, Win Explorer view, it's one way to show data in a form that your users are familiar with from just using their PC. So we have added extra items like, we go over here, we can show checkboxes against each one, we can highlight items, and so on. Excuse me. Now, let's have a look at the final new control. It's the range track bar editor control. It's a pretty easy control to show. It's a very simple looking one. So here I have a demo here. It's showing some cars again. And this is the range track bar editor control. Notice we have some filtering going on here. This is what's going on. This one defines the price range that we want to see. So I can drag the bottom left-hand thumb to define the lower value of the range, and then the right-hand thumb to show the upper value of the range. So instead of having a single thumb, it just becomes a track bar for selecting a single value. Here we're selecting a range of values through altering the thumbs of the track bar. Now, for fun, even more fun, let's jump over to the spreadsheet. Spreadsheet control is one of those things that has grown up over the past 2 releases, and it's grown up even more. So this is the standard demo that we have for the spreadsheet. I'm just basically going to ignore all this. It's not that interesting. So here we are, blank piece of the spreadsheet. First up is the autofill feature. Now this is almost easier to show than describe, but essentially you're going to be selecting a couple of cells that demonstrate a simple relationship. Here the relationship is the second one is 2 more than the top one. So I can now select those, drag the little cube here, drag down, and the spreadsheet control auto-fills the cells that I've selected now according to the relationship in the first 2 cells. So I'm basically showing a series of odd numbers. So I started with 1 and 3, and then we have 5, 7, 9. They're not formulas, they're values. So we just auto-filled the sequence, if you like. It's possibly more interesting to go for, say, a date. Today is the 28th of June, 2016. And let's make the next one the 28th of July, 2016. What I'll do is I'm going to set the format for these to a date, which makes it a little more interesting to look at. Fine. So what I'm going to do, delete these. Okay, so we have 2 cells defining a relationship of 1 month later being on the 28th of the month. And now if I drag my corner here and drag it down, notice the autofill understands those 2 values, understands the relationship between them, and then autofills the selection that I made with succeeding months, the 28th day of the succeeding months. So, kind of fun. That's autofill. Next up is paste special. Let me just delete these cells again. The reason I delete the cells is I want to get rid of the formatting, because I'm going to do some special formatting stuff now. Let's start off with a value, and here I'm going to create a formula for the next value in the range. So it's going to be 5 more. And I'm basically going to now copy that formula down here and insert it. So what do I have here? I have the initial value of 1, and I'm adding 5 to the previous cell, and here I'm adding 5 to the previous cell, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so forth. So I have a nice little sequence. Let's format that so we have something more interesting to see. I'm going to format it as number with 2 decimal places. I'm even going to go bonkers and color them red. So here we have a set of cells with some formulas in them, and let's investigate pasting, copying and pasting these cells. So let's select them, and I'm just going to copy. Now over here, I can just do a simple paste, which we've had before, and that's what you get. So it's going to replicate the cells. It's going to replicate the formulas in those cells. Look, see, that is 5 more than the previous cell. That's 5 more than the previous cell, and so on and so forth. They're all formatted with 2 decimal places, and they're formatted in red. So let's delete those cells again. So we get rid of the formatting. This time, we're going to try some of the paste special functionality, or special paste functionality. I can paste them according to these particular options. So we have values, for example. So what's happened here is it's done the calculation for me of what these values are going to be, and then just pasted the values. I did not ask for pasting the formatting, so notice they're just ordinary formatted, but they are just the values. As you can see up here, they're not formulas, they are the actual values. Again, let me delete. And this time, let's be a bit more careful. We'll do values with number formatting. Notice we now have 2 decimal places. They're values, but the red formatting doesn't copy over. It's just the formatting of the values, not the formatting of the cell itself, the appearance of the cell, I should say. So these are just values. That's number is 31, and it's not a formula. So we can then investigate, for example, paste special with source formatting. Here we get the full enchilada, as they say over here. We have just values, but the formatting is set for the values, and the formatting for the cell is also set to red. And of course, there are other different ones. We can just paste the formulas. We can do with number formatting, keep the source formatting, and so on. And the source column width, so here we are, it's this particular width. This is slightly less wide, so if I do a paste special with keeping the column widths, it'll make this E column the same width as the C column here. So paste special, something for your end users. I mean, you don't have to do anything, it's just set up like that. So they can do their work even better than before. Now, next up, for the spreadsheet, it's pretty simple. You can set protection on your spreadsheet. You can encrypt it with a password. So here we are. I'm going to use my usual password. 8 letters. Wonder what it is. And I have to repeat it. Otherwise, it's going to encrypt this thing. So if you forget your password, you're never going to get it back. So yes, I'm good. And now I can say file. Let's save it to my desktop. We won't use the CSV. We'll use XLSX. And I have one called temp here, so I'm just going to replace that one. Let me come out of this and then go back in. Says, oh, here it is. Okay, I'm going to do file, open, recent, desktop, this temp file, open it, and it's going to ask me for the password. And I type in my 8-letter password, and it opens up, and here's all my messy stuff at the bottom of the demo spreadsheet. Now, let's continue with this as we've got it open. Next new feature is the ability to move and copy cell ranges through the mouse, drag and drop. So here's a group of cells, a range of cells, and I'm just going to copy that. If I move my cursor over this range, it'll suddenly switch to this, I don't know what you call it, icon or cursor, up, down, right, left cursor. It implies move, so we'll drag it over here. And as you see, it's gone from where it was, and it's moved over here. So that's the move. So Control Z out of that. And if I press Control at the same time, it will do a copy. So this is great for your end users. They can easily, with the mouse, move things around. And as you see, I've done a copy here. So Control Z. And finally, we've added copy and paste to and from Excel. So let me select a nice big set of cells here. Let's include the formula at the bottom as well. And I'm going to right-click copy. Okay. Now I'm going to start up Excel. There we go. And a blank workbook, and I'm just going to paste. Interesting thing is, it's copied over all of the formatting. It's copied over. I'm not quite sure what that bit is. It's copied over some formulas. It's even copied over the pop-up as well. It's the formatting of the cells is the same, and so on and so forth. So, copy, paste to and from Excel. And that's pretty good. So we'll close that. Now let's move on to the rich edit control, rich text format, rich text editor, RTF editor. And the thing I want to show you here is, well, the first thing I want to talk about is very much a new feature. It's very, very much in beta mode. What we've done is we've exposed the rich edit controls native API. What's the API? Application Programming Interface. It's an extensive, oh dear, I can't talk. It's an extensive set of interfaces, classes, and other types, and together with their properties and methods. And this API allows you to write code to edit rich text documents and modify their settings. I have a quick example here that somebody on the team gave me, and you can look at it and marvel. So it's an example of how to access a rich text control and its document, and to add data or content to that document. So we're getting the rich edit controls document. We're adding some text, which happens to be the presumably headings of some description, character line feed and all that. We're going to create an abstract numbering list. We're going to set the formatting and blah, 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 and then create an array of integers, and then cycle through that array and add stuff to the document. It's complicated. The reason it's still in beta is there are a lot of interfaces, there are a lot of classes and types and methods and properties, and we have to document them all, essentially. So, although we're using the API internally within the control, it's going to require a lot of work from our documentation team to bring it all up. We're talking thousands and thousands of entries in a documentation, a help document. So, as I say, half-jokingly, you can look at our code until then. So that's kind of that. Next new feature, we've added support for editing HTML files. So here we are. We're showing a quick demo of a document here. The document is it's actually an RTF document at the moment. It's showing a table. The reason I chose this particular example is A, it's a table, and B, there are images, there's font changes, there's background colors, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening in this particular document. So we can now save it as an HTML document. So let's do that. So bring that up. We're going to save it as an HTML document. And I'm going to save it to my desktop. It already has one here, but let's overwrite it. Yes, I want to replace it. And now I shall bring over Firefox. If I can find Firefox. Where are you, Firefox? There it is, which is the browser I use. And what I'm going to do is open up that particular document. He says, come on. All right, I'll type it in. Here's my desktop. There's the document. And here we are. It's an HTML document. And if you look, it's a pretty good rendition of the original RTF document. Of course, now I can say, yeah, you can view the page source. And here it is. It's because it's a document showing a table, gets converted into a huge table. As you can see, all the way down. Lots of rows, lots of other stuff going on. But it's HTML, and I can now import that into the same RTF editor. So, importing and exporting HTML for the rich text editor. Next new feature I want to talk about is your users can now generate a table of contents. And based on usually special fields, paragraph styles, it's usually paragraph styles and outline levels in your document. So here's a table of contents. Like you'd expect, this can be formatted as a set of document links. So if I want to go and see Margaret Peacock, I can jump to that particular page in the document from the table of contents. You specify the number of levels and page number placements and so on and so forth. So if I jump back and right-click, I can edit the table of contents here. So we're showing 9 levels of headings. We're showing page numbers in the table of documents. Right aligning. So if I turn that off, I don't think anybody would want to do that, but it can happen. And we're using hyperlinks instead of page numbers, so we're actually we can jump to other places inside the document. So the table of contents. In addition, users can create tables based on captions added to equations and figures or tables, and the tables then can be updated to reflect changes made in the document. The next or final main new feature I want to talk about today with the rich text editor is the support for individual permissions on content ranges in a protected document. So here I have a protected document. So imagine you're on a team and you have a common team document that you can add to or remove stuff from. Parts of the document, though, are protected from being changed. You only have permission to edit certain ranges in the document. In this particular example, what I can edit is the stuff which has a yellow background. So as you see, I'm editing it. Nice, nice, nice. Down here, let me just try and type in here. And no, I have no permission to type in here. So range permissions on protected documents, now available in 16.1. Finally, I just want to talk about a new feature that's been added to our editors, at least where it makes sense. I'm talking about incremental filtering on drop-down lists. So it's best shown here in the mail client, what I'm talking about. So here's the mail client. And let's go over to the contacts list for now. So let's assume I want to filter the data in this grid on the city column. Okay, I drop down the filter on the city column, and there are a lot of cities here. You know. Ooh, look at that. And say I want Williamstown. Now, instead of manually scanning, going, where's Williamstown? It's the W, and there it is. I start typing the town name. So W, I, L. And I can continue if I wanted to, but at least now I can just quite easily sort my list according to the town name just by incrementally typing the name. So pretty quickly I can find the item I need. Let me just switch over to the mail page because this is even more interesting. So here I have a bunch of emails, and I want to filter, or actually, no, I want to find a particular email whose subject has the word VCL in it. But I can't remember anything else about this subject line apart from it had VCL in it. So let's start typing VCL. Now, pretty quickly, the list is getting filtered as I'm typing. We're actually looking for the letters throughout the subject line here. So pretty quickly, I can select the items I want to filter on, and then bingo, I have those two particular emails, as it turns out. I think we need to update our data. We're talking about 11.2 here. So easy filtering through a drop-down list. I'll show you, it's not just filtering of items through a drop-down. Let me just jump over, open up a particular item here. So here we have the title. And okay, there's not a lot of things here, but if I start typing M, R, and you notice the highlight is moving as I'm typing. So it's a different style of incremental searching, and it works really nicely with 16.1. Now, with that, I mean, there are lots of other smaller features, if I may call them that, to show. But I think I'll call this particular demo to a halt now. And if I, there we go. As I mentioned right at the beginning of the webinar, we released version 16.1 of the VCL subscription, the DevExpress VCL subscription, right before the webinar. It's like half an hour before or something like that. So it's now available in the download center. Just log in and download and install and enjoy. And with that, I turn it over to Amanda.
Hey, Julian.
Hello.
Hello. So we've had several questions coming in throughout that the team has assisted me in answering.
Cool.
Let's see, there are a couple. I think there's one I said that you would address. Yeah, is there a demo showing how to extract field values from a database table and populate cells in the spreadsheet? The team says there's not a demo, but they're working on a solution.
Then I'll defer to the team. I don't know of one, I must admit. So That's kind of thing is like almost a support ticket. I think we can answer that best, and basically have a ticket whereby other people can find the same solution, ask the same question, get the same solution. So bear with us. We'll do a quick example of how to do that.
Okay. Any plans to make the WinForms extra charts functionality part of the VCL subscription?
We go back and forth on this one. With the VCL, this is historical. We made our charting part of the grid. There have been discussions internally on creating a separate charts package for VCL. We have not come to a decision on this yet. It may happen. We'll see. And I believe, I'm going to really put the team on the spot here. I believe somebody on the team has actually created one. So it's close to actually, we could, if we wanted to, release something. But at this point in time, I'm going to say wait and see rather than yes or no. How about that?
Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a bit of a long one from Mike. I don't quite understand the point of the advanced functionality of the spreadsheet and rich edit controls. If a user needs advanced functionality, wouldn't they be likely to already have access to Excel or Word or various Google apps? I'm just struggling to see whether controls need to be incorporated into applications.
That's quite true. That is another possibility. The issue is if you want to do extra functionality on top of Excel or Word or OpenOffice or whatever, not just use them as an application to create worksheets or documents, then you'll need a control. It swings and roundabouts, to be honest. I can personally, yeah, I have Excel and Word, and would I need an application which replicates Excel or Word? Maybe not. If going back to that example program, if we could populate or you could populate a spreadsheet already with data from a database without having the user go through a whole bunch of steps, that's kind of a nice feature to have. They have the spreadsheet, it gets automatically updated from the data in the database. They don't know about that. They just assume that, oh, here I am, I'm looking at a spreadsheet and it's up to date. That's kind of an interesting scenario as well. It's just talking from the .NET side of things, we have customers who are using these controls, and they don't have to have Word or Excel on their users' machines. So they're saving money one way by not having Office, for example. It all depends on what your application or what your particular solution is devised to do. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Let's see. The team is answering. Can you insert a hyperlink in an RTF document and go to a different location in the RTF document from the hyperlink?
Yes. In fact, I showed you that with the table of contents demo. It was, the table of contents had been generated as hyperlinks to pages in the same document.
Okay. And then there's just, we've got some comments about, yes, we want the spreadsheet capabilities. Mike says we need a demo for updating the spreadsheet from a database.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, wait for that example, and that might trigger some more ideas about what you could do with the spreadsheet, for example.
Okay. Can you easily edit via code, like removing line feeds?
Yes, with the API, you can do all that. But as I say, we haven't documented it all yet. It's very much a task in progress. So yes, you'll be able to do everything like that. So, for example, let me open up this document programmatically, and before showing it to the user, I replace all double carriage return line feeds with a single carriage return line feed or something like that. Sure. Or even better, let's really stir the pot, replacing period space space with period space. Oh, zing.
All right. I think that's it for the questions so far.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending the webinar. And do please download 16.1 and start using it today and enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, Julian. All right, everybody, like Julian said, you can download VCL version 16.1 now. Just pop over to your download manager and get started. Coming up June 30th, this Thursday, using DevExtreme Mobile with TypeScript and Angular with CTO Julian Bucknall and technical evangelist Paul Usher. And then July 12th, get notified with DevExtreme Mobile. Again, Paul and Julian will show you how to add push notifications to a DevExtreme Mobile app. And you can check out devexpress.com/webinars for all upcoming sessions. And you can also see all our past recorded webinars there as well. And like I mentioned previously, today's webinar will also be available on our DevExpress YouTube channel. The link is about to be posted in the chat box. There it is. All right, everybody, that is it for this one. Thank you so much to Julian. Thank you all for joining us. And of course, thank you for choosing DevExpress. Bye-bye.